There was a time when mailboxes weren't just for bills. In the 1960s, that blue metal box at the corner of every street held birthday cards, handwritten letters, and postcards from family vacations. You'd hear the clink of the lid and rush outside, hoping for something with your name on it. Kids would eagerly wait for a letter from Grandma, often with a crisp dollar bill folded inside. The smell of paper, the feel of an envelope sealed by hand, it felt personal, thoughtful, and full of anticipation. Back then, the mailman wasn't just a worker, he was part of the neighborhood. He knew every house, every dog, and often had a smile or a wave for every child on the block. Getting mail felt like an event, something small that made your day a little brighter, especially when the letter had your name carefully written in cursive. Now it's mostly junk, but back then it was a little piece of love delivered daily.
Saturdays were for cartoons, and not the kind you could pause or rewind. You woke up early, bowl of cereal in hand, and raced to the living room to catch Bugs Bunny, the Flintstones, or the Jetsons. The screen glowed with color, and the jingle stuck in your head all day. The TV was a piece of furniture, heavy as a car engine, with rabbit ears on top, and static that danced before the show began. You didn't have a remote. You got up, twisted a knob, and hoped the picture held steady. These shows weren't just entertainment, they were tradition. Friends would talk about them on Monday at school, and missing one meant being out of the loop. The magic wasn't just in the cartoons, but in the routine, the comfort of knowing that every Saturday morning was yours, full of laughter, cereal, and a little bit of magic from a glowing
Drive-in diners
screen.
were more than a place to eat. They were a whole experience. You'd pull up in the family car, headlights off, and wait for the waitress on roller skates to glide up with a tray. Burgers wrapped in wax paper, crinkle-cut fries, and thick milkshakes in metal cups. It all tasted better under neon lights. The radio played rock and roll, and you'd hear the hum of conversation, the clink of glasses, and the laughter of teenagers in nearby cars. You might have shared a malt with your best friend or held hands in the back seat. It wasn't fancy, but it felt special, like something out of a movie. The smell of burgers, the glow of the sign, and the sound of a soda being poured, all little details that made drive-ins a treasured part of American life. Now they're almost gone, but the memories still feel fresh.
Public libraries were quiet sanctuaries where time moved slowly. The scent of old books filled the air, and the floor creaked with every step. Rows of tall wooden shelves stretched endlessly, and finding a new book felt like uncovering a hidden treasure. Kids would curl up in corners with dog-eared pages, tracing words with fingers, letting imagination carry them far away. You'd get a library card, a stiff little thing with your name typed in ink, and feel like you held a passport to the world. The librarian knew your name, remembered your favorite books, and greeted you with a smile and a gentle shh. It was more than a place to read. It was a place to dream, to explore, to feel safe. In the quiet, every whisper, every turned page felt like a small adventure, and you left carrying not just books, but possibilities. Public libraries were quiet sanctuaries where time moved slowly. The scent of old books filled the air, and the floor creaked with every step. Rows of tall wooden shelves stretched endlessly, and finding a new book felt like uncovering a hidden treasure. Kids would curl up in corners with dog-eared pages, tracing words with fingers, letting imagination carry them far away. You'd get a library card, a stiff little thing with your name typed in ink, and feel like you held a passport to the world. The librarian knew your name, remembered your favorite books, and greeted you with a smile and a gentle shh. It was more than a place to read. It was a place to dream, to explore, to feel safe. In the quiet, every whisper, every turned page felt like a small adventure, and you left carrying not just books, but possibilities.
Record stores were sacred ground for music lovers. Rows of vinyl records and colorful sleeves lined the shelves, and you'd spend hours flipping through, searching for your favorite band or the perfect album cover. The store always had music playing, sometimes crackling, sometimes loud, and it set the mood. You'd read liner notes like scripture, examine cover art like it was fine art, and if you saved up enough, you'd walk out with a record under your arm like a trophy. Listening wasn't just about the song, it was the ritual, placing the needle, hearing that first pop and hiss, then getting lost in sound. It was personal, immersive, and it mattered. You didn't skip songs, you listened all the way through. Every record held a story, and buying one felt like joining something bigger, like your life had a soundtrack you got to choose.
Every kid in the neighborhood knew the sound of a baseball card stuck in bicycle spokes. You'd clip it on with a clothespin, hop on your rusty two-wheeler, and pedal like you were in the Indy 500. The cards flapped wildly against the wheel, turning your bike into a roaring machine even if it barely made it up the hill. The wind hit your face, your shoelaces flew loose, and for a few glorious minutes, you felt unstoppable. Nobody wore helmets, nobody stayed on the sidewalk, and nobody cared if the cards got ruined. They weren't just cards, they were speed, freedom, and the soundtrack of summer. And when your legs gave out, you'd drop your bike on the lawn, no kickstand, and gulp down warm hose water before running off to the next adventure.
Saturday mornings were sacred. You'd wake up before anyone else, tiptoe past creaky floorboards, and plant yourself in front of a TV with a bowl of cereal piled higher than it should be. Cartoons blared, Looney Tunes, The Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and you didn't dare move until they were over. The milk got warm, the cereal turned soggy, and nobody cared. You laughed at the same jokes every week and knew the commercials by heart. Maybe your sibling joined you halfway through, wrapped in a blanket, eyes half closed but smiling. For those few hours, the world felt simple. No chores, no school, just colorful chaos and the crunch of breakfast. And when the cartoons ended, you sighed, stretched, and wondered how long until next Saturday. School lunches weren't gourmet, but they were unforgettable. The smell hit you the second you walked into the cafeteria. Mystery meat, tater tots, and that weirdly green Jell-O. You carried your tray like treasure, hunting for a spot with your friends. The milk came in tiny cardboard cartons that always spilled, and dessert was a brownie that stuck to the napkin. Kids traded sandwiches like Wall Street brokers, bologna for peanut butter, apples for cookies. The lunch lady knew your name and whether you'd try to sneak an extra roll. And even if the food was bland, the noise, the laughter, and the race to finish before recess made it the best part of the day. You didn't just eat lunch, you lived it.
Lemonade stands were the first taste of business. You scrawled 5-cent lemonade on cardboard, set up a rickety table near the sidewalk, and hoped the sun stayed out. The lemonade was too sweet or too sour, depending on who mixed it, and the cups were whatever Mom had left in the pantry. Neighbors walked by, dropped a coin, and smiled like you were a genius entrepreneur. Sometimes they didn't even drink it. They just wanted to support your business. You counted the coins like treasure, arguing with your partner over who did more work. When the pitcher ran dry, you packed up, sticky hands and all, feeling rich. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing something that felt grown up, even if it lasted just an afternoon.
Porch swings weren't just furniture. They were time machines. You'd sit side by side with your grandpa, the chain creaking gently as your feet brushed the wooden floorboards. The summer breeze carried the smell of honeysuckle and fresh-cut grass, while cicadas buzzed like background music. Grandpa told stories you half believed, tales of the war, of walking to school uphill both ways, of a world before TV. You didn't interrupt. You just listened, memorizing every word. The swing rocked back and forth, steady and slow, like time itself had paused. And when the sun dipped low and the fireflies came out, you knew those moments were more than memories. They were roots.
Rainy days meant board games spread across the living room floor, Monopoly pieces scattered, dice bouncing under the couch, and someone always accused someone else of cheating. The TV stayed off, the windows fogged up, and outside, the rain drummed a steady rhythm on the roof. You argued over rules, laughed at bad luck, and always fought over who got to be the race car or the dog. Sometimes the power went out, and you lit candles, playing by flickering light, giggling like you were camping indoors. The game never finished, the pieces never got put away right, but it didn't matter. What mattered was being together, trapped in the best way. The corner drugstore was more than a store. It was a community hub. You'd walk into the jingle of a bell, greeted by the smell of old wood, medicine, and the sweet scent of the candy counter. A soda fountain stretched along one wall, with red vinyl stools and a smiling clerk in a paper hat. You'd order a cherry Coke or root beer float and sip it slowly while flipping through comic books you didn't plan to buy. The pharmacist knew your family, the clerk asked about school, and the place felt like part of your home. Kids, parents, old folks, they all passed through, and everyone had a reason to linger. It wasn't just about what you bought, it was about being known. Family road trips weren't about the destination, they were about the journey. You piled into the station wagon, no seat belts, windows down, and snacks packed in brown paper bags. The back seat turned into a jungle gym, the map was impossible to fold, and "Are we there yet?" echoed every 10 minutes. You played car games like I Spy or counted license plates from other states. Rest stops meant picnic tables, warm soda, and gas station souvenirs nobody needed. The drive seemed endless, but you didn't mind. You sang along to the radio, argued over who got the window seat, and stared out at fields, mountains, and endless sky. By the time you arrived, you didn't just reach a place, you made a memory. Thanksgiving was a full-day event, not a meal. You woke to the smell of turkey roasting, cinnamon, and something sweet bubbling on the stove. The kitchen buzzed with clattering pans, shouted instructions, and too many cooks. You helped mash potatoes or stirred something just to feel useful. Relatives filled the house, coats on chairs, voices everywhere. The TV showed the parade, but no one really watched. You waited for the feast like it was a holiday in itself. And when everyone squeezed around the table, heads bowed, hands held, it wasn't just about food. It was about belonging, about laughter, second helpings, and stories that got better every year. Thanksgiving wasn't one moment. It was the whole day, start to finish.